Olivia, let's first look at Tiffany. I mean, when we look at Tiffany's versus Michael Kors, people are saying, well, this is the luxury market. Not so much.
Not so much, although it is really a tale of two different luxury brands. So to be clear, Kors is still growing. Tiffany profits shrank 17%, and the stock is up 7% because comp store sales were better than expected. Still, globally, comp store sales fell 1%. It is a turnaround story at Tiffany, whereas Michael Kors' momentum is slowing.
All right, well,
it's still very much in its growth phase.
To be clear, Chris, do you still consider Michael Kors to even be a luxury brand?
A lot of people don't. You know, they're really running towards the middle, and they're feeling the heat from it.
Yeah. It's tough. I had a $150 Michael Kors dress on yesterday. Is that luxury? I'm not so sure. The idea is it saturating the market that you have all this Michael Kors?
I complimented that dress.
Yes.
Eric, it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be luxury to be fantastic.
I'm just pointing out that it looked great.
But
let's get back to Tiffany's. You look great yesterday and today.
You look beautiful, Stephanie.
Thank you, Chris. Fantastic today.
It's the Mutual Admiration Society.
So my gosh, here we go.
Oh
I never say that to Tom Keene.
Well, Tom doesn't always like Cena. He doesn't get a lot of sleep. Look, it's all about expectations with Tiffany. They had a terrible holiday, and everybody couldn't figure out why. So there was a lot of concern about whether or not these new Tiffany T bracelets that, Steph, you probably have seen. It's the new sort of trendy answer to those silver beans. See, you have one. They're selling well. People were concerned that actually those were going to be cannibalistic rather than incremental. The numbers today show that the new fashion jewelry is selling well. That is good news, not only because it's higher margin, but also because it gets out to a new customer.
Chris, did they come out with this bracelet, this line, when you look at the uber success Hermes has? An Hermes cuff, whether you are looking in an airport or a flagship store, they barely can keep them in stock. Is this just Tiffany's trying to follow suit?
In a way, they have a relatively new design director, and what they're trying to do is, you know, it's a 170-year-old brand. They need to come up with new things. You don't think necessarily new when you think Tiffany. So last year, it was the tea cuffs, and it was, you know, it was aimed at women to buy gifts for themselves, not necessarily to wait for an engagement ring or to have someone else get them something. And then this year, they're getting into vintage-inspired watches.
Yeah, and they do have this new cool designer, Frederica, this Italian woman who used to work at Chanel and Marni. So she's bringing a little cachet to the brand. They're also pushing out in the high end with the Blue Book. I'm sure you get that in the mail. It's their sort of estate jewelry, the more expensive stuff. So they're doing the barbell thing. They're focusing on the T brand, the lower end, and they're also expanding in the higher end.
Chris, globalization is what every luxury retailer wants, but lately it's been proving to be perilous. Look at Tiffany, for example, right? It was back in January that the stock cratered because it had to lower its forecast due to, you know, sluggish sales in Japan, largely driven by currency fluctuations. What is the strategy? Has any luxury retailer figured out how to, I guess, you know, push back against?
Well, Burberry changed their pricing last week between Europe and Japan.
And Chanel actually did it before, and they actually are one of the few luxury brands that's growing because they've done it. They were very early on it.
You've got to have awfully strong pricing power to be able to do that.
Yeah. And you know, Tiffany actually, they're an American company. They really suffer for being here, and most of their stores are here, but a lot of their shopping is from tourists who are here who don't want to buy, you know, in American currency because it's just so expensive.
Yeah, so for them, the FX hit is a double whammy. It deters the foreign customers shopping in the New York flagship, and it bites into the bottom line when they get 50% of their sales from abroad.
Is this likely to be a story? I just saw that for the first time. Maybe I've missed it over the course of this retailer earnings season. But this idea that there are fewer tourists coming to America because of the strong dollar, that's going to undermine results. Clearly at Tiffany, but perhaps others as well?
Yeah, well, they're not shopping here. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to shop here. It's, you know, I don't know about the tourism numbers, but certainly people going into the stores.
All the sell-side research I saw said they were worried about the number of foreign tourists, particularly Russians and Brazilians, not shopping in the U.S. Eric, you mentioned the really disappointing figures coming out of Japan. I think comp store sales down 24%. Terrible, yes, but that's largely because, remember, the sales tax hike. Everybody brought forward shopping of luxury goods.